Whenever you are trying to do something that is not normal, something that is out of your comfort zone, something that you've never done before, those feelings will continue to come up. I don't care what other people say, like you can bid imposter syndrome goodbye. No, unless you are moving up and leveling up, those feelings are still going to continue to come up. You're listening to the Audacious as Fuck podcast, where we're not just talking about business, we're talking about life. Hola, I'm your host, Marta Ramos, a Dominican-American lifestyle entrepreneur who had the audacity to go from corporate to Chief Empowered Officer of my life and business. And this show is all dedicated to reimagining what more is possible for you so that you can start creating your own path to success. So if you have the audacity to step into your power, your purpose, and really own your CEO vibe, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Audacious as Fuck podcast. I am your host, Marta Ramos, and today I want to talk about something that so many high-achieving individuals tend to suffer from, but it is rarely discussed, and that is imposter syndrome. And it can affect anyone regardless of their level of success, but it is most commonly seen in high-achieving women. Such as executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals. And as someone who has experienced this firsthand, I know how challenging and frustrating it can be because it can literally paralyze us from moving on to the next level. Now, before I dig into the subject, I want to let you guys know that I have interviewed other experts on this matter, and I will be sharing the links to those episodes for additional resources down in the show notes. So make sure you guys check those episodes out as well. But now, while I wasn't familiar with the terminology imposter syndrome while I was working in corporate, I can tell you, friend, that I am very familiar with the common signs. So today I want us to explore what causes imposter syndrome, how it affects us, and most commonly share some practical tips, tools, and techniques that you can use to help you manage it and overcome it, right? To make sure that you can stop it in its tracks. Now, what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is the feeling of self-doubt, insecurity, and inadequacy that many people experience, particularly in a professional setting. It can manifest as a persistent belief that you are not qualified, experienced, or skilled enough to be doing the work that you are doing, despite the evidence to the contrary. So listen, I don't know if that sounds familiar to you. Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you don't deserve your accomplishments or that you're pretending to be competent? Or how about feeling like a fraud and like you don't belong in the room or think that your success is warranted, right? Like you just got there for some sheer dumb luck or whatever other external factors you may think of. Does that sound familiar? Does any of that resonate? Well, that, my friend, is imposter syndrome. And it is just a feeling, and it doesn't reflect your actual abilities or achievements. It can be caused by various factors such as childhood experiences, personality traits, culture and societal expectations, and also workplace culture, which is, I think, where I first experienced it as a professional in working in advertising. I can tell you that there were many times where I myself didn't think I was smart enough or competent enough to be in some of the rooms, which also led me to not even share my insights or to speak up, right? Like I kept shying away from wanting to share my thoughts or experiences or knowledge in some of these rooms because I thought that, who am I, right? Like I wasn't qualified to speak up. Like I was literally in rooms with executives who have been there for years and years on end and who were so high up in the corporate ladder that I'm like, girl, you don't belong here. Does any of that resonate? Now, the way that imposter syndrome affects us, it can have a significant impact on both our personal and professional lives. It can lead to feelings of anxiety, stress, low self-esteem. It can also affect our mental health and overall well-being. It can also hinder us from professional growth and limiting opportunities of advancement. Like literally, it'll stop us in our tracks from asking for that promotion or raise that we know we deserve. And all of that is due to either failure or being exposed as a fraud, or quite frankly, like you're just not good enough. Some other common signs can be self-doubt, perfectionism, and quite frankly, the tendency to downplay our own achievements. If you do this, but like when someone gives me a compliment or, tells me great work, I tend to downplay them, be like, yeah, okay. And I never accept the compliment. And I want us to stop doing that. Like literally, I've learned to just say thank you when someone gives me a compliment, right? Or plays up my achievement or work that I'm doing. I'm like, you know what? Thank you. I'm taking it. So anyway, that is one tip or strategy that you guys can start implementing whenever you have these feelings of self-doubt or fear of failure and people are literally giving you a compliment. I want you to take it. As an entrepreneur, I can tell you that the feelings of self-doubt and fear of failure have been tenfold because I ask myself, who am I to think that I can build a business? Or who am I to think that I can teach other women how to build a business? But the truth is that I have evidence to the contrary, right? Like I have multiple degrees. I have a bachelor's and a master's of science. And I also have the knowledge and experience from working in advertising and marketing and media for over 12 plus years with Fortune 500 companies such as Colgate-Palmolive, Mary Kay, Unilever, Mondeleza, formerly known as Kraft. Like I can go on. And you know what I help them do, friend? I help them launch and grow their global brand. So who am I not to think that I can do this? You see what happens there? Like, even though I have supporting evidence that says that I can do it, I still get those feelings and thoughts that tells me otherwise. So how can we start overcoming those feelings or start at least managing it? Because I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm going to be very honest. Whenever you are trying to do something that is not normal, something that is out of your comfort zone, something that you've never done before, those feelings will continue to come up. I don't care what other people say, like you can bid imposter syndrome goodbye. No, unless you are moving up and leveling up, those feelings are still going to continue to come up. So here, I want to share a couple of strategies to help you manage and overcome it. Kudos to you if you can to help you deal with that. So here's the good news. It is not a permanent condition. So the first strategy or technique that I want you to use is self-reflection, right? Like take a step back, think about what's really driving your feelings of self-doubt or fears. Are there any patterns or triggers that you can identify? I want you to take a few moments, grab a journal, grab your favorite drink, and just sit down and start writing everything that comes to mind when it comes to doubting your abilities and capabilities and education and experiences. Like literally take a moment to just start writing what comes to mind. Step 2 is to recognize and acknowledge your achievements. Wherever you are in your journey, know that you deserve to be there. Know that you've worked hard for it. So one of the most effective ways to combat imposter syndrome is to focus on your accomplishments, right? Is to recognize that they are a result of your hard work and abilities and just keep a record of it. Like one of the things that I was taught to do when I was in corporate was whenever I received an email from like a client or a supervisor or, senior management on my accomplishments, I saved that email. Like I literally would create a folder that I think I called it like, I don't know, kudos or something. I can't remember. But I used to save those emails there. And whenever I was feeling like I didn't belong, I used to open those emails up and read through the praises that I used to get for doing all the work. So again, making sure that you're keeping record of your successes and celebrate them, right? And read them over and over again until you get it that you are already smart and capable. The next one is reframing your negative thoughts. Now, this one can be challenging because our negative self-talk is probably one of the hardest things to do because we are our worst critics. Like that inner voice that tells you you're not smart enough or good enough can hinder us from moving on to the next level. So here's one of the things that you can use is to replace it with positive affirmations. So basically, if your thought is, I am not good enough, I want you to just switch that around and say, wait a minute, I am good enough. And remind yourself of your strengths and capabilities. But here's the thing, I actually have a 4-step framework that you can use to teach you how to shift out of that negative self-talk and into a more empowered state of mind. So the first step is awareness, is making sure that you are aware of that negative self-talk, that negative voice in your head. The next step is accepting it. Accept it for what it is. Know that it is normal to have those thoughts and feelings, and just know that it is something common that a lot of people go through, so you're not alone. The next step is adjustment. Now, this is where the hard part comes in, and it's how can you take that negative self-belief or limiting belief and adjust it into a more empowering belief? And here's what I want you to do. So here's an example. I am not smart enough. I want you to rewrite that and say, I am smart enough, and this is why. I am smart enough because I was able to acquire multiple degrees while in college, or I was smart enough because I was able to help global brands launch and grow their portfolio, right? Like start looking for that supporting evidence that proves that you are already qualified, smart enough, good enough, whatever that thought is. I want you to start writing down the supporting evidence. The other and final step is taking action. Instead of letting the fear hold you back, take action and face your fears head on. Break down your goals into smaller achievable steps and just take them one step at a time. So again, step 4 is taking action from that empowered state of mind, despite your fears, despite your inability to move forward. And listen, this is another thing. Instead of thinking of that big goal that you want to accomplish, just think about your next best move, just the next step, and take action on that next step. And then lastly is practice self-care. So I want you to take time to find activities that speak to your soul, that help you relax, recharge, such as exercising, meditating, or spending time with loved ones. Because taking care of your physical and emotional well-being can help restore your confidence and help build resiliency. Now, before I close out the episode, I know that some of you may not be entrepreneurs and may be experiencing these feelings in the workplace. So how can we begin to address that workplace culture that contributes to our imposter syndrome? Well, unfortunately, imposter syndrome isn't just an individual issue. It's often tied to a larger societal and cultural factors, as I mentioned before. So in many workplaces, women are still underrepresented in leadership positions and are undervalued for their contributions. So one of the steps that we can take to start addressing imposter syndrome in the workplace is to advocate for yourself and advocate for each other, right? Like, speak up about your experiences and push for a more inclusive and supportive workplace environment. And how can you do that? Is by simply going to your manager or supervisor or someone in a leadership position that you trust and just share your concerns. And also, as women, it is very important. And this is something that I wish more of us did, was to advocate for each other's, like, have each other's back instead of, you know, talking negatively about one of your colleagues who may be experiencing imposter syndrome. Is give her space, listen, and then just advocate for a change in the workplace. Imposter syndrome can be a challenging experience, but it is important to know that you are not alone and that there are ways to overcome it simply by following some of the tips and strategies that I just shared. But one of the most important things that I want you to take away is that you deserve to be where you are. Your achievements are valid and you are already enough and smart and capable and worth celebrating. And with that, I want to celebrate you for tuning into this episode. I know that you guys are more than capable of achieving your big goals and dreams. And I am here to help you. I got your back. Now, if this episode resonated with you or with someone you know, I want you to share it, right? I also want you to hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening to it on your favorite podcast platform or you're watching me on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, but also leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the episode. Let me know if this is something that, you want me to share more of within upcoming episodes. Also tag me on social if you're on Instagram, Ramos Official. And lastly, if you want to know how you can work with me, or if you're interested in launching and growing your own business, make sure that you check out ways that we can work together by visiting the website, marthalramos.com/work with me. Now, with that, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys, and I will catch you on our next episode. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes and share the love with a friend or two. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, friend, so you don't miss an episode. And with that, until next time,